Hello, this is a contribution from Kuzu Console to the Algorand ecosystem. In this presentation, we will learn how to develop a decentralized application in the form of a Windows application using the .NET framework with the Universal Windows Platform, also known as UWP, to communicate with the Algorand blockchain to create account addresses and mnemonic keys, fund the account, and also check the account balance. Okay, so right here I have my Visual Studio 2019 open. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new project. Alright, so right here we can see the template options. So we're going to go ahead and search for UWP right here. Alright, so we're going to create a Universal Windows application, which is why we're going to select this project template for Universal Windows. So let's go ahead and click on it and then click on next. So I'm going to call this app UWP Algorand. And then after doing this, go ahead and create. Okay, so we're going to see these options for the target and minimum platform versions for the application. So let's go ahead and leave everything as it is by default and then click on OK. Okay, so now that our project has created successfully, we can go around and play with it. But before we do anything, let's first of all connect our application with the Algorand. We're going to do this by installing the Algorand package into our application. So to do that, let's right click on the project file as a class library and then head over to manage NuGet packages. Click on that. And then let's head over to browse and search for Algorand. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on it. We can see the Algorand SDK for .NET framework to interact with the Algorand network. Let's go ahead and install the latest stable version, which is the 0.2.0 version. Click on install. Click on OK. And also accept. So this will install the package for us. As you can see, it has successfully installed into our application. So when we go to the install section, we can see that the package has been installed successfully. We can also check from our Solution Explorer. Inside of the references, we can see the Algorand over here, which means we have successfully installed the package into our application. So after doing this, let's head over to the main page. This is where our controls will be. Double click on main page. Okay, so we can see the form, and then you can also see the XAML code snippet right here. So we can actually write our controls either using the XAML section directly, or we can head over to the design section of the page and then do it from the code behind. We can also use the toolbox where we can select the options. If we want to add a button, if we want to add a text, we can just drag and drop it into the form directly, or we can just simply type it out inside of the grid. So we're going to actually do this drag and drop to make it easier. So we're going to drag a text box, two text boxes actually. Okay, and then we're going to also drag another text box right here. So we have two text boxes. Okay, so what we're going to use this for is we're going to create an account address and the mnemonic key attached to that account address. So this first text box is going to contain the account address, and then this second one will contain the mnemonic keys. So to proceed, let's go ahead and go inside of the XAML.cs section of the page of the application. This is where the code behind will be. So double click on it. Let's go ahead and minimize every other thing. All right, so this is how our page is going to actually look like. So if we head back to this section, we could actually double click on this. This is going to take us to the code behind of the text box. So let's click on it here. So we can see the text box. Let's go ahead and do the same thing for the second text box. Double click on it and we can see the controls where the code behind is. Alright, so I just quickly copied and pasted this code snippet here. This is what we're going to use to generate our account address and the mnemonic key. So we have a class here called account view model and a constructor of the same account view model. Alright, so inside of the constructor we have an account. We're making an instance of an account which we then use to generate the account address and then the mnemonic key of the account address. And then we have fields here. Is a public string for account address and then a public string also for the mnemonic key. Okay, so and then we have a public field right here for the account view model. All right, so this is what we're going to use to pass into our main page of our application. So how this will work is that when we launch the application, immediately the application launches and starts, this is going to automatically run or work, and then in this case it's going to generate the account address and then the mnemonic key as the application starts up. So but we can see some squiggly lines over here. These are errors because we haven't added the necessary namespaces needed for the account to work. Remember, we imported or installed the Algorand SDK into our application, so that is what we're going to make use of to be able to achieve this. So let's hover over it. You can see this show potential fixes. Go ahead and click on it, and then let's include this using Algorand statement. Okay, so having done this, we can go up over here. We can see the using Algorand statement. We're going to also include one more using statement, which is using Algorand. Okay, using Algorand equals Algorand.account. Okay, so with this done, we just added the other one to ensure our mnemonic key also works. So with this done, let's head back to the XAML section of the page. I would like to actually just do this. I'm going to take it off. So right where this first text box is, we're going to then this is what we call data binding. We're going to pass in data from the code behind into our XAML section, into our XAML page. So to achieve this, inside of the text, we're going to make a binding. So to achieve that, we're going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and remove the text box, which is the name that initially is supposed to display there, and then let's go ahead and include the curly brackets and then have this x.bind and then the path to what we're going to use. So view model dot account address. Remember, this first one is for account address, and then we can go ahead and just copy everything here and then do the same thing for the second text box, but then this time around we're going to pass in the mnemonic key. Remember, our view model is actually what we have here and also what we have here, but because we passed it into the main page, that is why we're having access to them inside of our grid where our XAML section is. So after doing this, we haven't done anything with the controls. We can put the horizontal alignment to center, and then I could also have this at the center. All right, so after doing this, go ahead and save and then debug the application. Okay, so let's start without debugging. And then all right, so we have the account address and we have the mnemonic key. Don't worry about the UI. That is not what we're here for. We just want to achieve the code and then see how it works. So I've copied the account address. I'm going to go ahead and paste it here. I'm going to comment it out and also going to copy the the mnemonic key, and then also comment it out and then paste. Okay, so we have the account address, we also have the mnemonic key. We're going to use this and then get the account details of this particular account, the account balance, and some other details. If you want to check additional information about the account, we're going to use the mnemonic key and the account address. Okay, so having done that, we have successfully achieved this first step, which is to generate an account address and a mnemonic key of that account. So let's head back to the main page.xaml. So inside of the main page.xaml page or section, we can actually, since at the moment we have generated the account address and the mnemonic keys, we do not no longer need these text boxes at the moment. So let's go ahead and comment it all out. And then the next thing we're going to want to do is to check the account balance, the account details of the account which we created or generated earlier on. So let's go ahead and zoom in to see our form clearly. And then inside of the toolbox, we're going to go ahead and add a button into our form. So let's quickly drag and drop. So this is a button right here. Let's go ahead and make some controls, add some controls to the button. I'm going to remove the margin and then vertical alignment to center. Same goes for horizontal alignment. I'm going to copy the one from the text box we had earlier on. So both the vertical and horizontal element should be at the center of our form. Let's just drop this, collapse the panel. Alright, so we have a full page of our main page.xaml where the form is. So at this point we can double click on the button. This will take us to the code behind or functionality of what our button will be all about. So we can see the code behind of the button. Buttons are event handlers which handle events, what should happen when a button is clicked or when something happens. Okay, so I have added some using statements at the top over here. So we can see our using statement for Algorand version 2, for Algorand clients, Algorand version 2 model, that's v2, and then using account equals using account equals algorand.account. Earlier on we used Algorand here instead of account, so I just corrected that. So back inside of our button, I'm going to quickly paste the code snippet we're going to use to check the account details. So this is all we need to actually test or run our code. Okay, so I'm going to quickly make this async because we have the await keyword for the dialog box. Okay, for this message dialog we need this namespace using windows.ui.popups namespace for it to work. So if you're following along, ensure you include that also. So back into our Algorand API address and token, this is our API address which we are going to use, and then this is the API token we are going to use. Alright, so inside of our Algorand API, we made an instance of it, passing in the Algorand API address and then the API token. So we're going to use this by making an instance of it. This means that this Algorand API instance has access to everything that the Algorand API contains. So the next thing we then did was to create a variable called account info, and then the account info is equals to the Algorand API instance. Okay, so we're then using the Algorand API instance to get the account information of the account you want to get. So if you hover over this, we can see the details. We need a string of an address. This is the address we created earlier on. We can see it right here. So I just copied it and pasted it as a string. So we have a variable under it called dialog. Okay, so we're going to make use of the message dialog as the that's dialog box that will pop up when we click on the button. Okay, so we have the account balance passing in the account info dot amount. Okay, this account info right here, we're passing in the amount because we are dealing in micro algos. That's why I added the micro algos over here. Okay, so after doing that, we use the await keyword and then the dialog.show async. So the dialog box is going to show itself. So this is what we need. So check the account balance or the account details of that particular account we generated. And mind you, this is very important. This mnemonic key we created should only be used for testing purposes. Never ever use your mnemonic key out there to the public. I am displaying it right here because this is just for demo purposes, for tutorial sake. But never ever share your API key with anybody, your mnemonic key. I mean, if someone has access to it, I think anything can be done with your account, so keep it hidden or private. Okay, so from this stage onwards, we can then head over and then debug our application to see what our account balance is. So click on debug and start without debugging. So our deploy has started, waiting for the application to run. Okay, so we can see the application is up and we can also see the button we created. So let's go over and click on the button. So we can see the account balance. We have 0 micro algos inside of our accounts. We just recently created it. We have not funded it yet. So in the next step, that is what we're going to do. Alright, so right here my browser is opened. I am inside the bank.testnet.algorand network URL. This is what we're going to use to dispense funds or algos into our account. So let's head back to our application and copy our account address, which is what we're going to put right here inside of this field before dispensing into the account. Okay, so let's proceed and copy the account address we have right here inside of the account information method. So let's proceed and copy it and then head back to our browser right here. So click on the check the I am not a robot checkbox to confirm we are not robots, and then dispense funds. Inside of the target address, go ahead and paste in your account address and then hit the dispense button. Okay, so we can see a good status of 200, which means success. This also means that the funds were successfully transferred into our account address. So back inside of our application, we're going to go ahead and check the account balance again for the second time to see what has been dispensed into the account address. Okay, so let's go ahead and debug and start our application without debugging. Okay, so our deployment has started and was successful. Alright, so application is up. Let's go ahead and click the button again. Okay, so we can see the micro algos. We have a million micro algos also. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's about 10,000 10 million micro algos has been dispensed into our account. Okay, so at this stage we have successfully completed the tasks we wanted to complete. We created an account address and the mnemonic key. We've checked the account address and we've funded the account address. We can see what we've funded into the account address. So this is a contribution from Kuzu Consult by Stephen Sunday and I to the Algorand ecosystem.